Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I think let's get into the questions. How do you feel about that?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Cool, 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 cool. We've got some really good ones today. Um, so let's see. We'll start with Brenda. Brenda, who's your cousin, and in fact, she says
Awesome.
this question is from your cousin Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Brenda. She's asking, what more teamwork will it take for Team PSP to make it to the podium?
Well, there's a question that we spent a lot of time thinking about.
Do you mean as a boat, as a
As a
team?
boat. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there is a uniform frustration that our potential, it doesn't feel like it's been realized yet. Um, we are always, anytime we're around the other boats, we are very competitive, as faster, able to race with any of them. But we haven't really put, other than the first couple of races early in the overall race, we haven't really been able to put together a whole race where we didn't set ourselves back significantly or have a couple of breaks that really were unfortunate. So I think the answer is we've actually started doing some things that we've seen benefits from. And, I think one of the big things has been to include a few more people in the decision making around the strategy that we're going to follow. So at the start of, when we started out, it was basically all on Mike. Mike, having had a lot of ocean racing experience, Lottie, who's our AQP, our assistant skipper, she has a lot of sailing experience, but not racing experience. So a lot of the racing tactics are pretty new for her as well. So there was a lot of pressure on Mike to make all the decisions and then relay those decisions to Lottie. And then they in turn relayed them to us, and we were, basically instructed to follow them. Um, there are some people on the boat that know what they're doing from a racing perspective. And so what we've started doing is having a more of a collective conversation around the strategy. So we meet every day at 5 p.m. On our boat time, and the we being myself and Ran, who's the other watch lead,
Hmm.
and then we have an assistant watch lead on each leg or each race. So the four of us plus Mike and Lottie sit down in our navigation area and we look at the weather maps, we look at where we are, look at the other boats and what's going on with them, and we talk about what the next 24 hours looks like. We talk about what the strategy is going to be, and we try to set some parameters so that we make decisions in those 24 hours that are, in line with the strategy. Because things happen, the wind changes or what have you, we need to be able to adapt. And those have really helped because we leave those meetings sort of empowered that this is our plan, this is
Mm.
our strategy now. And I think the whole crew has felt more um, just more part of the outcome. I think it's easier to accept the outcome if you're part of forming the strategy and executing the strategy
Yeah.
versus just being on the receiving end of some instruction. And so we started doing that in Halong Bay, and we definitely have seen the benefits of it. And we're just trying to continue to refine the process so that we're really, really good at it, and that those that are involved in the meetings are um, learning as much as they can about racing strategy and
Mm.
weather and how to make good decisions. And um, so I think that's probably the biggest thing. We have I'd say Ran and I as watch leads have done a really good job of uh, coming up with a system that helps new people who join the boat get up to speed quickly, become contributors in as short a time as possible. So I don't feel like I feel like we're as competitive as any boat, and we've heard that from. Uh, we had one leg where we had one of the media people on our boat filming, and he said that as compared to the other boats, we were one of the most professional and finely tuned crews. And he was really surprised that we weren't getting better results as well. So um, we kind of believe that, and like I said, when we're racing alongside other boats, we see the evidence of that, and now we just need to string together, a good race overall,
Mm.
and I think we'll see those podiums eventually.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, well, first of all, you actually have had a like
Yeah,
you took a third.
race two. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's not like you're, I don't know, 11th out of 11 or something. Um, but I'm loving hearing about. So a couple things come up. I got to thinking after we talked last time because we spent such a wonderful. There was a wonderful part of the conversation was about a question from Karen that was about how do you embrace new sailors on the boat, and like it's
mm,
completely changed. And I remember one time we had a conversation about like what you called a short bench.
hmm
Like it used to be that you'd be like, hey, listen, we know you want to do this right now, but we need the quote. This isn't how you said it, but the way that I took it was like,
yeah,
you're not qualified in a way that somebody else is qualified, and how that might have felt. I remember the term short bench really, you know, hit a nerve for me because I was like, oh, I remember being not a person who was qualified to do blah blah blah. And that sounds like it's completely changed now. Where when you were even describing uh, uh, one of the first passes, the times that you passed a boat, the helm was somebody on the helm was a new person. So like,
that's
and
right.
there's this lovely mutual respect and feeling that when somebody new comes on the boat now, wow, they've got a lot to teach us. Like we have a lot to learn from them, and so that felt like it was sort of the learning of like maybe Australia. I don't know how you would say it. And
Yeah,
then
I think it was the learning of, yeah, from Cape Town to through Australia was,
yeah,
because Cape Town to Australia, Cape Town to Fremantle was, I think we turned over 9 new people on, and
yes,
we didn't do it very well. And so the rest of the trip around Australia, I think we really took it very seriously that we needed to get a lot better at that.
yeah,
And yeah, like right now we have 4 new people who, yeah, they do everything, and they're up to speed very quickly. They're very keen. They feel very welcome, and it's actually a good thing because actually we've lost 2 people who were supposed to be going on to Seattle, but are stepping off the boat due to injuries.
mm,
So having those 4 people as up to speed as quickly as they have been is going to really help us because we're going to be a little shorthanded, um, for this next
for this
race
next one, like
as compared to what we've normally had.
yeah, and then now what you're describing about it feels like there's just these layers of empowerment that you're sort of discovering as
Hmm
you go from race to race, and this one of having 6 people instead of one understanding, making decisions, and then helping everybody else feel buy-in is the word in my head. I'm not sure if that is appropriate, but like
Yep.
everybody feeling like we're all doing this together. We're all empowered to choose, to try, to create, to ask questions, to explore. That's really
hmm
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's been a really interesting evolution of the whole team, and the skill set of a lot of people who, you could not have done that approach on the first couple legs because for most of the people, even the 4 of us that I mentioned, I was the only one that had racing experience of the 4. And so everybody else would have been just looking at a weather map and other sailboats and
Trying.
not really had a clue, you know, what we
Yeah.
were talking about. But now they do, and it's really fun to see that growth and to hear the commentary. And then we also have, on every watch we have somebody whose job it is to do navigation, and every hour they go down and record the performance of the boat, the location of the boat, the wind, all those kinds of things. And we're now asking them to also, take some time to look at the weather forecast, to look at the charts. And if they see something that they think would help us make better decisions, to make sure they let us know that.
That's
So
yeah.
eventually, I think the goal is we have a lot of people to pull from and to make the best possible decisions we can. And maybe Mike doesn't have to make those decisions at all, that he's empowered us to be able to make them, and his job is to just make sure that we're safe and
Mm.
you know, and performing, in a way that's consistent with the Clipper approach. That's, I think Mike would say that would be his ultimate goal for this race, is that, from Washington to back to Portsmouth, he can just put his feet up and have a nap and do his crossword puzzles, and he'd be as
Look out
happy
for
as could be.
wildlife, look out for
Yeah,
birds.
yeah.
So,
Because that's literally what, I think he tries to empower us to do. It's just sometimes you have to put in formal process to make sure that those steps can happen. Because sometimes people don't feel comfortable to just do them organically. You need a little bit of structure there. And I think
mm,
that's what we've done, to answer Brenda's question. I think that's what we've done really well, is to put some structure around teamwork that empowers us to make the decisions that will ultimately get us onto the podium.
and to have everyone involved in some
Yeah,
really empowering way. Yeah.
that's
And
right.
you described last, it's funny because the way that you're describing Mike feeling now, or how you think he might be feeling, coming through the rest of this race, is it seems like how you were feeling as you left Australia and sailed to How Long Bay. You were like, this was amazing. I had thought, I remember you saying that I was going to really be wanting to be the sailor, right? Like, one, it's an adventure where I'm
Mm,
sailing, and what it's become is this idea of like part of a team. We're all doing our thing. There's this real nice contentment and enjoyment, which
yep.
feels like what a great way to I don't know, be in a place where you're having fun and you're happy, and not that you weren't happy is such a not the right word, but
Mm,
like these are the ways that you want to win. Like if you like teamwork happens when people are contented and joyful and working together, right? Feeling
yeah,
connected.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been a big growth for me, because I think we spoke about this, my identity was as the sailor when we started. And, you know, if I had tried to hold on to that and have an ego about that, I'd be miserable right now, because there's a whole bunch of people
Yeah,
who are sailors now. And
yeah,
um, so it's allowed me to find different ways to contribute, and different ways to support, and different ways to use my skills. Um, and you're right. I mean, some of that has taken a lot of pressure off me, because there was legs, and you'll recall some of the conversations where I was not enjoying myself as much as I could, because I was feeling a lot of that pressure.
mhm,
And I think it was sort of a transition period where I wasn't sure who was ready and who wasn't ready yet to take the next step. And
mm,
now it's very obvious, and now we have a better process to help people accelerate their development so that they're ready even quicker. So it makes life a lot easier for me to just enjoy getting up and going sailing every day, and knowing that we have a really, really sound team behind me, um, to to do what we need to do, and I don't have to be the one to do it. And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very rewarding. Yeah.
It's interesting because one of my curiosities was like, what does it look like when there is teamwork on the boat, and what does it look like when there isn't? And I think we've just answered that question.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that I think there are people on the boat still coming to the same awareness that I've had, and maybe
Mm,
they're still in process of getting there, to see that there are other people beyond themselves, and maybe me or whoever, who are capable and competent to take leadership and take ownership, and and so that's, I think there's a natural evolution where some people, especially those that have been on the boat for a long time, they feel in a position that they should be able to lead and direct. But leadership can look like a lot of different
mm,
things. It doesn't require you to be the person talking and yelling instructions all the time. It could be the person to actually step back and say, you've got this, right? Like,
yeah,
you guys know
yeah,
what you're doing here. And I think people are going to get to that kind of understanding of how to lead and how to support people on their own time. It's certainly my role now is to actually help those who are a little bit too, I think, forceful about trying to direct and trying to be the guy or be the person to lead, trying to help them step back and trying to help them see how they can support people in a new way. That's sort of the level of leadership that I get to play now, is to help coach the leaders in our team to
Wow.
lead lead in different ways, right? And
Yeah.
so that would have been hard to imagine when we left Portsmouth that that's where we would be at, but that's great now that there's enough people that have the skills to sail the boat well, that we can actually spread the work out and spread the roles out in a way that lots of people by the end of the race are going to feel like they were empowered to help be a leader on our boat.
Yeah. Wow. That's really, really cool. It's really cool. And what it leads to is what it leads to, right? I mean, hope, there's a lot, I don't know. I feel a lot of enthusiasm and hope for the races ahead.
Yeah, I mean the results. I mean, they matter in the sense that it feels a lot better to get to get the celebration at the end than it does to just come in amongst the rest of the boats. But I think there's also a sense of, we enjoy sailing together a lot on the
Mm,
boat. And we've been through some really tough moments, some stuff on the boat that happens naturally, and just to see how everybody shows up in support of each other through that. As I said, we've had some people get injured, and that kind of reminds you of the temporary nature of what we're doing. And
mm,
and so I think it's a balance of, yes, we definitely want to fight for a podium and to have a chance to win a race or be on the podium in a race, but not at the expense of losing what makes our team really special. And
yeah.
so that's sort of where we're at right now, is figuring out how to be a fun, cohesive group and get the most performance out of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Thank you, Brenda. What a great question. What a great question.
Mhm.